Michael Thurmond. I'm CEO of DeKalb County, and this is our fourth water billing update public forum. And the primary purpose of this particular forum is to, number one, provide details on the progress that's being made in addressing the water billing crisis that we've had here in DeKalb County, and also to answer any questions you might have regarding issues. Now, one of the things I want to emphasize that if you have a specific issue, please sign in with the men and women in the back with the blue shirts at the blue table. We'll be able to, you will receive a call from us tomorrow to do a follow-up to address your specific issue. Now, I am not able to provide you with a specific answer to your problem because I don't have access to the information that would be necessary. So if you have a problem that you are specifically concerned about, you had the opportunity to talk about it, but in order to get it addressed, you need to go back and make sure you sign up with the men and women in the back. We'll have a customer service representative call you, and then we'll be able, hopefully, to address your issue. If you have a concern regarding a bill or a billing issue, you must file a dispute. You must file a dispute, because if you don't, then the process will continue to move forward as if there is no concern. So if you have an issue, if you received a bill or bills, and you feel like you are not, or it represented an amount of usage that is not fair, that you're taking issue with, then you should immediately file a dispute. The DeKalb County government, myself, we have no issue, no desire to collect 1 penny for usage that you did not engage in or that you did not use. That doesn't help us at all. But if you feel that way, you have to do what first? File a complaint. And then, while the dispute is ongoing, your water will not be cut off. Where's my friend I just talked to? I want to say it one more time, because she said, if you file a dispute, the county commissioner, the CEO, there is a standing executive order and statute. Your water will not be cut off, and you will not pay, you will not have to pay until the dispute is resolved. Is that fair? All right. Before I go any further, I want to introduce one of our distinguished county commissioners, well, we're not new anymore because we got elected together. Seems like I've been here about 15 years. But a good friend of mine, an outstanding public servant, Commissioner Bradshaw. Please stand. Commissioner Steve, give him a hand. Commissioner Bradshaw. We are making progress. We've made significant progress in 8 months. I'll repeat what I've said many times. Everything that happened prior to January 1st, not my fault. I've talked to people who had some issues in 15 and 16 and 13 and 12, not my fault. And he said, oh, wait a minute. But guess what? On January 1st, 2017, I am ultimately responsible for correcting every one of them. Didn't create them. I volunteered for the job. At least 1 or 2 of y'all voted for me to get the job. So I'm responsible. Okay, no one else. Ultimately, it's me. These people work with me every day to get it done. But as Harry Truman said, the buck stops at the CEO's office. All right? Don't blame me for creating it. But hold me responsible for correcting it. Is that fair? Yes. And I don't care who created it. It doesn't matter who created it at this point. What's that? The devil. Flip Wilson said the devil did it, right? I'm the guy that's responsible for correcting it. We're going to talk to you about the progress that's been made. In 2016, before I came in October, we decided to hold 37,000 water bills. This young lady to my left was one of those people. As of this month, by the end of this month, we will have independently verified and released more than 27,000 of those 37,000 held bills. That's an applause. Yeah. Ma'am, I understand. And the only reason I asked you to give me applause because people had to work to get that done, right? And one thing we have done, we've been very transparent, very clear. I tell my folks all the time, we just gonna lay it out. This is the fact. That was an audit done. I know our auditor is here. Where's John Green? John is here. The auditor is here. He had an audit completed and done of our water billing system. And one of the things that came out of that audit is that the problems we have are problems that have been manifesting and festering for at least 25 or 30 years. Yep. John, is that fair? It's long term. Didn't get here overnight. And the only thing I would ask you all to consider, we can't correct it, what? Overnight. But it is being corrected. And I think just between us, we made significant progress over the last 8 months. Now I'll stop and we're going to begin to first share with you things that have occurred and are occurring. And before they start, I want to say this. Listen, I'm not sensitive, right? I've been in politics 30 plus years. Everything that can be said about me already been said at least twice, right? So if you have things, now don't curse, but if you have things you need to say, just say them because the truth sets you what? Free. And we want to be free of this flawed system that does not operate at the level taxpayers and citizens expect. Now I want one more thing. We have 184,000 individual customers. 184,000. Look around the room. Well, let me tell you why. The great majority of those people get accurate bills. But one inaccurate bill is one too many, right? But what it does say is the great majority of our customers are getting the accurate information. We're working to when I can have this meeting and nobody will show up but me. Fair enough? All right, so I'm going to start with Ms. Antramika Knight.
Good evening. My name is Antramika Knight, Interim Deputy Director, Department of Finance, managing the utility customer operations function. Thank you for being here this evening. What I want to share with you is what has happened and how we've released the bills since April of 2017. The New Day project was funded at the end of February, so we really started organizing ourselves around the independent verification process starting on March 1st. That included hiring the personnel, getting them trained, getting them staffed, making sure we did the proper amount of testing. We started in April of 2017 by releasing 8,000 of the held bills. We made sure that we tracked certain metrics associated with those bills we initially released. Those included how many people have paid, and as of this week, we had 81% of those people who have paid, which is on par with just a regular billing cycle. We typically see about 77 to 90% payment, depending on what season it's in. So this is on par with that metric, which left about 1,400 people who have not paid. We also tracked the number of new disputes from those subgroups, and from that 8,000, we had 20 people file a dispute based on after receiving that bill. We took the next few months to make sure some things were strategically in place before we released the next batch, which is why we had a gap until August of 2017. We made sure we trained the rest of the group on the independent verification process. We made sure that those people that we released in April of 2017 had resumed billing, that we didn't have any other system issues. We evaluated those who did come back with exceptions, which is the flag billing process to let us know we need to take another look. So with that particular process, in August of 2017, we were able to resume billing on approximately 10,000 of the held bills. At this particular point, 48% of those people have paid. Again, that's about on par because it's a bi-monthly billing cycle for the majority of our customers. We did get 85 self-disputes as a result of those released bills. We've continued with the IVP process for September 2017, and we are going to be releasing about 7,500 bills by September 30th, so pretty much by the end of this weekend. We've already received 8% of those payments from those we've released the bills, and we have about 6,900 customers who haven't paid. We have not received any new disputes from this group of released bills at this particular time. We're continuing to focus on payment metrics, as well as if we see any type of issues that we think are systematic or things that we have missed. But we do test the data multiple times. If we're unsure, we send that back out to the field. We will change meters as necessary. We make sure that when we're following the dispute process, that we are looking at old bills with our customers, listening to and taking into account repair statements. And then we also have a process adopted by the board, which we work with the COO on those particular circumstances where we cannot validate the information. The meter had been changed out maybe 10 years ago, 3 years ago. There's a one-time spike that someone can't explain. All of those items we're working on in conjunction together. And that means that when we open our billing cycle on October 1st, we will have released 75% of the held bills. We will do the IVP process again in October, and we have some initial projections of those. It'll be a smaller group of people, and at the end of October, we will then evaluate those we have left and strategically work with the CEO as well as the COO on our next steps if we feel like the IVP process is not getting us the verification we need on those particular bills. We are pleased that we still have, we have over 50% of those we have released that are paying, and we are offering payment plans and any other, we don't make sure nobody is ever penalized for the DeKalb County issue. So anytime that there's a late fee or somebody has an additional issue, we make sure we take care of that. The contact center is probably a lot of people's initial contact point with DeKalb County when it comes to their water bill. We currently have a staff of about 33, and we have 17 people in training. Our goal is to keep the contact center staffed at about 50 people based on our call volume. The average wait time, if you call the contact center, is about 40 seconds, and we answer 75% of those calls within 60 seconds. The people, 97% of the calls we answer, that means that people do not hang up before we have a chance to address them. And our call volume has dropped 40% from this time last year, which was part of the year that the moratorium initially started. So we are getting less phone calls in. Thank you again for your time this evening.
Thank you, Antramika. For those of you who may not know me, I'm John Metelsky. I'm the Chief Innovation and Information Officer for the county and have been working on this project since the CEO came on board. What I wanted to talk to you about tonight are some of the continuing initiatives that we have as it relates to trying to modernize all of the systems, and I'm not just speaking specifically to the computer systems, but really we look at this holistically as all of the systems associated with this. So either myself and or other folks from my team are engaged in every part of this process. As we start looking at things, even if it doesn't look like there's technology involved, maybe there should be. So we're looking at all different things for automation, and we really don't have any specific meetings going on that are related to this project where we don't have someone from IT that's present. As important as it is to get this legacy system replaced, we do know that it's going to take 12 to 18 months, probably closer to 18 months to do so, and we cannot just leverage our current system without making changes to it and ensuring that we're doing some things now as opposed to just waiting until that new system gets in place. So a couple of things that we've done working with everybody on the team is really gone in and done a lot of business process evaluations and looking at what are some of the things that we can automate, what are some of the things that we should automate but perhaps our current system won't allow us to, and we're mapping out all of those business processes, not just so that we can do something with the current system, but as importantly, so that we can do things with the new system and do them correctly and have those things mapped out so that when we do have the vendor on board and we can bring in other resources, we can leverage their leading practices and lessons learned and implement them here so we don't have to recreate the wheel. But some of the things that we've been doing while we're working on getting the new system engagement rolling out and some of the enhancements. So I'm going to actually skip to the second one first, and that's the field validation form. We created a form that basically allows the service reps to go out into the field and they can input information into a system rather than doing everything by hand and then having to come back to the office and then have that information typed in. Just multiple points of potential error when doing that. You might get back to the office and not be able to read their handwriting or something. So we now have it so that the field validation process is automated. They have a form, they can complete it, and then folks can do what they need to do in-house with the billing system and or with the meter, and specifically with the meters as well. The other thing that we're looking at doing is, to the extent possible, eliminating as many of the exceptions that raise red flags that have been caused by, quite frankly, quality control or quality assurance type issues. So one of the things that we've done is specific to the meter changeouts. We now have a process in place whereby we are able to monitor when we're doing a change out and check and have that do a cross-validation with the system to ensure that the data that we're seeing in the field is the same as the data that is in the system. So that's enabled us to reduce the number of exceptions based on any mismatched meters that we have. In addition, with the current system, it was very, very challenging to try to find out what exceptions were caused by no reads. Any kind of the queries and those kinds of things that we were doing, it was just a mass of data, and then we would need to export that into spreadsheets and do the sorting and this, that, and the other thing. Not that that's a problem, but it's not the most effective or efficient way of doing it. So we now have created a way to leverage the system whereby we'll reduce the number of exceptions because we can do reports and queries that separate out just those with unread meters, and then provide that information to the field team, and then we can go out and methodically handle issues that we have with those types of readings. And last but certainly not least is really streamlining our change management process. Because we had so many hands in the cookie jar, as it were, we had folks from the UCO and folks from IT and folks from the watershed, and those types of requests for changes to the system really were not being centralized and coordinated. All of those now are being coordinated through IT. They come through my office, and I review all of them, and then I work with the requesting parties to make sure that we prioritize them, because the first priority is making sure that we get accurate bills out, and any bills that are on hold, we want to get those out clearly. But there are certain things that still need to continue on in terms of enhancements of the current system and automating some of the processes, but we work on prioritizing those because, again, we have limited resources, whether it's with the vendor or with IT or with the county staff, and we need to be as aggressive as possible, but recognizing that we need to be very careful and methodical as well, though. So now with that centralized change management process, that allows us to make sure that the vendor's not making changes without our approval, that they're not trying to question, well, Watershed asked us to do this, but the UCO asked us to do this, which one's more important? Or try to split their resources, and then we have to wait longer. So by prioritizing these things, we can get the things that are most important to our customers, you taken care of, and work on those, again, as methodically as possible. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you about was give you a brief update on where are we at with the new system. You may recall that the Board of Commissioners approved the Encuesta solution a couple meetings ago. We have actually just completed the negotiations with the vendor, systems and software. And right now, we're just waiting for final signatures. We're not waiting, though, for the project to ensue. We've already had a project team meeting where we brought together all of the subject matter experts from across the county that will have anything to do with this system, and we are beginning to set up additional business process mapping sessions where I will bring in business analysts who are certified to be doing business process evaluations and working with the functional people who know their business and work on how, again, mapping out the current processes, looking at what some of the best practices are that would require remapping so that when we bring the vendor and the vendor is on site, we could work with them and other experts in the field to make sure that we are configuring this system and implementing this system in a world-class way, best practices and leading practices being recognized. We will pull the executive steering committee together as soon as we have a signed contract and we have a kickoff meeting. At that time, we'll again engage the executive steering committee meeting, and that committee will be used for any accountability, making sure that everyone is doing what they need to. But most of the work will be done by this project team that I talked about. So if there happen to be some priority challenges or some things that raise up, then this executive steering committee will be the group that will help us prioritize and make sure that we're going in the right direction. And as I already noted, the system implementation is anticipated to take about 12 to 18 months. Realistically, I'm hoping for 15. That's why we've got 15 to 18 there. And again, we'll kick that off. I'm hoping within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we're expecting the contracts to come back signed, and so that we're ready to go. Just as a brief reminder of some of the things that, and obviously this is not an exhaustive list. We could have thousands of bullets on here, but I think some of the key ones that we're looking for, some of the key enhancements, what we want this system to do is obviously modernize, eliminate the legacy system that we have, and do so in a cost-effective manner. We will be integrating multiple systems, whether it's the AMI, the meter information, whether it's the GIS, our Oracle financials. We are looking at every single point where we could make integrations and make sure that we have nothing that is manual. So everything that can be automated will be automated through this system. Flexible N-tier architecture, what's that all about? At the end of the day, we are implementing this in a cloud or software as a service scenario, which basically will allow us to focus on the application rather than have to worry about all the hardware. And then the N-tier component of the architecture, basically, we want to make this thing run as quickly as possible as from a system standpoint, so that when you are on the phone with our customer service representatives, or in the new system, when you're actually going to the web portal and you're actually pulling up your account and looking at it, that because the architecture will be such where we're not going to be having everything on one server where things can get bogged down, we will have them all separated out so that from a processing standpoint, your queries go very quickly. And when you're on the phone with our customer service representatives, we can get you on and off the phone with the right answer and do that quickly as well. It'll make this system much easier to upgrade and enhance. The previous system, because of its age, almost everything that we did required some form of programming, reprogramming, or customization. Our goal with this implementation is to implement this and configure it with zero customizations. I would prefer not to touch any of the code. We want to do this based on best practices. There shouldn't be anything that the county is doing quite frankly, that is really that much unique in the way we do things than anyone else that's in this business that's doing it. Now, if for some reason there is some ordinance or legislation that dictates we must do some form of programming to it or customization, then we'll address that. I can't think of anything at this point, having looked at the different requirements that would lead us to go in that direction. But quite honestly, my first preference would be, let's find out whether or not that law or ordinance can be changed. Maybe it's a 50-year-old ordinance that we're working with. So those are the types of things where, again, it may not even be an IT question, but IT wants to be at the table to help facilitate. And the last, and certainly not least, is enhanced customer engagement. We are going to have a world-class site for you to come to where you'll be able to see your bill, log on to the website, do whatever you need to do, and hopefully limit the need for you to be calling us. Everything will be transparent. It'll enhance the level of customer engagement because you'll be able to do this 24/7, 365, quite frankly, from anywhere in the world. So that is our promise to you, is to make sure that we continue to move forward, enhance the customer service, facilitate greater management accountability and oversight, and provide a reliable platform that will support a 21st century water system. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Aaliyah. I think we're going to handle all questions at the end, if that's okay. So if Ms. Johnson will cover the last portion.
Thank you, John. Hello, everybody. My name is Aaliyah Johnson, Engineer Principal from Department of Watershed Management. Today, I would like to provide an update on the Small Water Meters program. Staffing. Within the past few months, we added more staff on the field service technician from the 22 position to 42 staff, with a plan to increase to 10 more positions in the near future. So with the increased staff, this allowed the opportunity for them to be able to complete the task faster as well as more effectively, such as the field validation for the customer accounts that some of them may be in a dispute process, or some of the accounts that the bill are being held. Also, this allowed the opportunity for the staff to be able to schedule a meeting with the customer, as well as they can be able to meet them more regularly. So next is the out-of-life cycle water meters contract. This contract, the plan is to advertise this by the end of October 2017. This contract is the labor contract in order to replace the out-of-life cycle water meters, which consists of about 62,000 of the old manual read meters, as well as the SR-ECR2 series, which is about 62,000 of those. So the plan is to replace them 25,000 of the meters. We plan to replace them each year with over the 4 years time period. And with that also, this contract, we are planning to award to multiple vendors. This will allow each vendor to be able to perform the meter change out, the service line upgrade, the cul-de-sac renewal, as well as the new meter installation. At the same time that we're replacing these meters, we will also install the transmitters, which will allow the system to convert it to the AMI, or the Automated Advanced Metering Infrastructure. The AMI system allows the meters to be read remotely, which can also reduce the human errors. The AMI system also allows the county to monitor the usage consumption on an hourly basis. Right now, we have about 20% of the system on the AMI, which is approximately 32,000 of the meters in the system. This allows the county to proactively monitor these accounts. If there is any issues such as leak, tampering, or any unusual usage pattern, we will be able to detect them early. Which that we provide the opportunity for the county to notify the customer in advance and be able to fix the issues before the bill being sent out. We have approximately 40,000 of the pre-2014 iPods that may potentially have manufacturer defects. So the plan is to replace them. Right now, we have replaced about 6,000 of the pre-2014 iPod meters to date. It is an ongoing process, so we are working with the manufacturer to replace them within the upcoming years. After the replacement of the meter is completed, the systematic replacement of approximately 7% per year. This is the recommendation from AWWA standard to replace about 7% of the meters each year. so we can ensure that we will not have the outdated or out of life cycle water meters again. So at the end of the 4 years replacement program, we are planning to also look at the meters that are approaching the end of their useful life cycle, which is the SRICE or the ICE model. Right now we have about 48,000 of these meters in the system, and they are about 7 to 14 years old. So we're planning to replace them based on age, which we will replace the older one first and then so on. The systematic replacement of the meters provide the benefit to the county that we can replace the meters in the smaller amount each year, rather than waiting for the meters to reach the end of their life cycle. So that can prevent any error that may happen from the failure of the device itself. So after the replacement program is completed, all the accounts will also be converted to the AMI system. We understand that some of this process may take time, and especially the meter replacement program, which can take up to several years to complete. So we appreciate your patience, and thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to work with you to fix the issues. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, questions, if you have any, and there will be a microphone. I got 3, so we'll start with my friend from Detroit.
Thank you very much. Hello, I want to know, how do you know a meter is an old meter unless you go out and check these meters? Well, I find out, I've been here a year. I bought my house a year ago this month. First bill was 60, 2 months later 80, 2 months later 150, 2 months later 230, and now it's 320. No one's there but me. I go to Detroit 2 weeks out of a month. I'm only here 2 weeks. I don't have no swimming pool. I don't water no grass. But nobody knew my meter was old until I come down here and raised the question. I went downtown, raised the question. They said that the meter reader stands on the corner, and I can't figure this out yet, and reads all the meters down the block. They have told me that downtown. He stands right there and reads them. So if my meter is an old meter and acting up, if I don't come out here and let you know that, they're not checking all these meters. They don't even know the meters ain't working. They told me if I must got a leak or something, told me to pay a plumber to come and check. I paid a plumber to come check in and out. I haven't been here but a year. I got some enormous water bills. The plumber said there's no leaks in, no leaks out. The meter is old. I come down, they said, well, it might be 2 or 3 years before we replace it. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. So I just can't understand why you're going to say he's standing on the corner and going to read all the meters. He could have known a year ago my meter wasn't no good. Why are you going to tell me that?
Well, first, if you have an issue with the bill, if you file a dispute, then you are not responsible, I'm just repeating, to paying the bill, and you will not be responsible until the dispute is resolved.
But everybody can't come down here.
No, ma'am.
Everybody don't have the funds to catch the
All right. Explain how you can file a dispute.
You can file a dispute by calling 404-371-3000. So you do not have to file a dispute in person. So that's 404-371-3000. You can also email us if you want to file a dispute. And you can get the business cards. We have business cards and magnets on the back, so you don't have to come in person. For those who do wish to see a customer service representative in person, the address is 774 Jordan Lane, Decatur, Georgia. Again, that's 774 Decatur, Georgia. I'm sorry, Jordan Lane, Decatur, Georgia.
Start over. Make sure you get the information there. Let's walk back through how you, I'll get to everyone.
directly about that.
Yeah, but let me say this. I will be here until the last question is asked. So there's no, I'll be here all night. I'll miss Monday Night Football for this, all right? So
You can file a dispute over the phone. That's a direct dispute line. That is not the main customer service number. The number for that is 404-371-3000. That is 404-371-3000. There are people that still wish to speak to someone in person, and we do take those as well, and you can talk to us at 774 Jordan Lane, and that's in Decatur, Georgia. And again, that's 774 Jordan Lane, Decatur, Georgia. And you can also email us if you want to file a dispute. And I did not want to repeat that just in case I messed it up, but there is magnets in the back, and I'll announce that in like 2 minutes. I just don't have it memorized. It's a longer email address, but I'll say that in just a second.
Okay, thank you. No, we're gonna, I will call on everyone. So, lady here to my left.
My name's Gay Stathis, and I'm represented by Nancy Jester on the Board of Commissioners, which established a Citizens Advisory Committee to help people like this woman navigate the system. Not everybody in Decatur or DeKalb County is computer savvy or has the time or wherewithal to make the phone calls and sit on hold like I had to do myself. So I know what it's like. We have not had our first meeting yet. I don't understand why. I got one email from John, who was up here just a second ago, who asked me for my availability. And I sent him an email back and told him my availability. No response. What's the point of the Board of Commissioners establishing a Citizens Advisory Committee for each of the districts and then get stonewalled and not have any meetings? That, to me, is egregious, and there is no good answer, but I'd like to hear somebody's answer on that.
I'll answer. The legislation was, I think, introduced by Commissioner Rader. It was established by the commissioners, and they have authority and staff to host meetings. So Commissioner Jester, Commissioner Rader, and other commissioners, that is their purview and their authority.
They have told me that you or your proxy has to call the meeting. They cannot individually call the meeting. So somebody's stonewalled.
Well,
This thing established back in April.
Well, let me say this.
Told me that there is a meeting on Thursday at 2 p.m. on the 5th floor. If you haven't been told yet, it's their fault, but I have been told that there is a meeting there. I am not on the advisory board, but I will be there.
Well, and I was going to get to that. There's a meeting this week. I will say neither one of the commissioners have said that to me, what you have repeated. So they may have said it to you, but not to me. Yes, ma'am, I think you were next.
But when they came out in February and they came out in October, they're supposed to be coming back to find out what the problem was. But the water guy did come back out in February, and he said it may be over the line because I don't have a leak in my house. I had a plumber like she did come out my house and check everything out. But they still can't find out what the problem is. If I have a water meter and I haven't got my bill until February, until last week, I should have got a bill between February and when they changed my meter out within them 2 months. Why it took so long to get there? Second of all, if you're gonna prorate my bill, you should have told me what dates you had them prorated. When y'all gave me a past due notice, you should have gave me, extension, which you already explained to that. Don't worry about that right now. I ain't worrying about that. I still want to know about me having that new water meter on my pipe down there. Is anybody gonna ever come back out there to check it out? Like Road and Gutter supposed. I went to Waste Management. I had the Waste Management people out of my house. Okay. They need to send somebody out there and check out their line on that street right there, which is connected to the pipe to see if there's a problem leaking on y'all's line, to see if my problem could be that. But have they came out to do it yet? No. And I'm still waiting.
Well,
I'm there every day. I look out my window. I see everything come in my circle.
I understand we talked earlier, you had the issue, is Waste Management installed a septic tank in your driveway? I understand. Yeah, they do. This gentleman, we need to go to that side?
Right here.
Someone on this side. Yes, sir.
I'm just kind of curious on if we know what the root cause of some of the problems are. Because I hear solutions, so we're going to get a new computer system, we're going to change out the meters, and we're going to look at some of the billing. But do we know that if that's going to fix it or not? And that's why I kind of want to get an understanding if that's going to fix the issues. Because I'm in the same boat as everybody in here. I've had spikes in my water bill, like, okay, why is that? You know, did we got a leak or something like that? And I had plumbers come out and paid them. They came out, and no leak, something's going on. I mean, the only thing I can think of in my particular case is I got a 15-year-old meter. But I want to at least have the confidence when I leave here that we understand that we're solving the right problem. We're just not throwing, you know, solutions at stuff we don't even know what the problem is.
Well, I'm very confident we are. One of the things that was shared is that in April, we began the New Day project. But also, independent of our research and analysis, the Board of Commissioners financed an audit that was conducted by KPMG, independent of us and me. And the most telling, and you can access it online, someone can help get me a website. The key element that arose out the audit is what we had already shared, is that these problems have been growing for 3 decades. They are multifaceted. We did a flow chart that looked at the issues, and some of the things were mentioned here. It was old meters. We have 102,000 meters in the ground that are out of life cycle, that are old. 102,000. They should be changed out every, 10, 15 years, but we didn't. As a county, we didn't do it. So consequently, we have to now go in and change out 102,000 meters. It takes about 3 to 4 years to do that. So decisions made or not made 10 years ago have consequences today. The reality is, though, there is no switch that I can hit that's going to immediately, magically install 102,000 meters. That's not how it works. Secondly, Mr. Matowski talked about the billing system. It's about, 14, 15 years old?
Yes, sir.
15 years old, way beyond its use in terms of technology. There are multiple challenges with that system. We are now, the commissioners have supported a contract that we put before them, but it takes, as he stated, 15 to 18 months to get it installed. And I can go on and on. The staffing, we had staff that was not properly trained, and we were not properly staffed, whether it was field technicians, customer service representatives, and they were underpaid. So we have now bought staff on that we did not have on January 1st or April 1st for that matter. So we are in a process. This is not an event. And see, being a politician, my political instincts would have been to call a press conference and say, we got it, it's fixed, go home. That would have been a lie. I'm not going to tell that lie. It's going to take 2 to 3 years to correct this system. And I wish I could tell you something different, but I prefer to tell you the truth. Yes, sir.
We're talking 2 years ago about problems. I know myself, I called and spoke to Scott.
I'm sorry.
So why have we still been sitting here for 2 years and nothing's done?
Well, I was not here 2 years ago.
You know what, Michael, that's not a good answer.
Yes, it is. Okay, I don't think I could have just walked in here and taken over 2 years ago and said, I'm in charge. That's not the way America works. Now, we had,
Commissioners are still here.
so what's that?
How many of the same commissioners are still here?
That's not my problem.
People have been bringing this.
Listen, Jerry,
County's
excuse me,
for 4 or 5 years.
that's true.
He did nothing.
Fine, but let me tell you, they didn't do nothing, but I can't change what they didn't do. All I can do is take care of what I'm been called to do. I can apologize to you on behalf of the people who preceded me, but I can't change history.
Have any of them been fired?
I want to say one more thing, and I'm going to let them have the field. I want to say that, I understand where you're coming from, okay? You're starting at ground zero. But, a couple things I want to at least address, or at least hear, is that, okay, you're starting with a bag of mess, You're trying to deal with it, okay? But let's forecast out 3 years from now or 4 years from now when it's under your watch. How do we know that these things won't happen again when the next CEO comes on board and he's going to blame you?
No, that's a great question. And let me tell you how I answer that. And not just with this, when people ask me to make a promise about the future, and the most, I think, insightful way to determine what politicians or elected officials will do, you judge at what they have done. And I remember sitting in meetings like this 2 or 3 years ago, and there were people in that meeting who were around there who told me how the school district was destroyed, that it was broke, that it will never rise again. They had no faith in me. They had no faith in my staff. And all I can say is judge me on not what I say, but what I've done. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to say something because I work for the DeKalb County school system, and he have brought about a lot of solution through the school system. So what you have to understand that you can't blame a person for what happened before. You got to understand everything going on and give him a chance. But we know for a fact at the school system he brought about a lot of solution. And who didn't need to be there after he found out what he needed to do, he removed them. So instead of us here getting in a brawl and just talking a lot, let's work on getting solution, because really I want my water bill down. All the other stuff don't matter, okay? And that's what I want to do. So I just want to ask him, do I need to call someone on the phone? Because from what you're saying, I've complained from the beginning, but my bill didn't stop. And one plumber said there was no problem. I found another one, said that was a leak. I got it repaired, and I also faxed the bill in to Miss Shantae Stewart. So now I'm waiting to get credit for whatever, and just, I don't know, was it just certain people that wasn't getting a bill that complained, or how was that going? Because I just got one the end of this last week, and it was over $400. So I know it's inaccurate, but I know y'all will make the adjustment on my statements on the receipt.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
But we need you to file your dispute. That's the main, unless you do that with the people in the back. If you just, yes, ma'am, well, you've done it then. If you file that dispute, and then the process will look at what's causing your bill to be at a level that you're not comfortable with or you feel is inaccurate, and we'll work through the issues to try to get it resolved for you.
I want to say one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's live for today, because tomorrow is promised, but it's not promised.
Yes, ma'am.
Why, with all the
UPC, I'm
people
coming to you.
working so hard, is my bill estimated?
I'm sorry.
Why, with all the people working so hard, is my bill estimated? And can I send in an estimated payment?
Thank you. First, I want to share what the email address is, and it is a long email address. It is DeKalb Water Billing FN at DeKalbCountyGA.gov. So I'll spell that out: DeKalbWaterBilling FN at DeKalbCountyGA.gov. And my apologies, I hadn't memorized that. To speak to estimating, any of the bills that have been released because we held have been actual readings. So if you have an estimated bill, that is a result of just a regular billing process. Estimating bills in the utility industry is a part of the standard. It could be because the meter hasn't been able to be located, that it is up for replacement. We know it's inaccurate, so we give you an estimate. We have 3 rules that, not rules, but on the county website, you can find our estimating protocol, which we publish and make available for everyone to read. If you have additional questions on the root cause of why we estimated that particular bill, we do keep that in the system, and you can call us and ask us, and we'll have a clear reason on why we estimated the bill. There are some meters that have a history of being estimated because of long-term issues, whether it's because they've been paved over, the county has been unable to get to them, but if it's because the meter needs to be replaced, we can replace the meter and get you an actual reading.
And let me follow up. And
Said that a few months ago and nobody has come out yet.
And I'll make sure somebody from the back table gets your information so we can get your meter replaced.
And if you're not comfortable with the estimated bill, file the dispute. And then, oh, you have? Oh, okay. Because see, let me explain something. We got 184,000 meters. And you can be 99 and 10% right, but it will still be thousands of people uncomfortable. So the only thing, the best way, the fairest way that we can address individual concerns is that anyone who feels uncomfortable should dispute it. This lady.
Perhaps
Yes,
I haven't been doing the right thing because I've been calling and going to the watershed for quite some time, but nothing has been done. This month, I watched the meter man come. He went down the side street, Palmer Road. He came back and he passed my house, but partly I could still see him. And then I got this reading. I was wondering if the bill was automated. Could he sit in his truck and get the reading, or just how is that done? Because I did call, it's not the first time that I've called. I've called several times.
About the technology and reading the bill. Yeah, you don't have to just touch it.
Yes. Okay. I don't know exactly your particular location or situation, but there are a few ways that the meter readers can obtain a reading. So one is they actually, if you have a malfunctioning they can actually lift the cover up and physically record the digits. They also, the common way we have is they have what we call a touch wand, whereas there's an attachment on top of your meter box that they have their wand and they'll touch it and it'll transmit the signal. Or the other one we have is if there's a, on your box, it looks like a mushroom cover in a sense. That's an electronic transmitter where it sends a radio read, and they can remote that either from an antenna in the towers, or if they have a unit in their car that they could read it that way.
Mine is in the ground with a lid on top of it, and he was greater than 100 feet from it.
Well, we'll get your account information and follow up on
And I've
that.
called and complained continuously through the years because there's only 2 people in my household. I'm one of them. I'm a senior, 77 years old, and I surely don't be cooking and doing all that stuff. My son goes to work, but yet instead I'm getting this bill for $90, $100 and some dollars. I mean, for what? I don't even drink tap water. I buy my water.
Oh, I'm disappointed. All right. We'll get your information. All right.
Please file a dispute. And I understand the frustration. If you just, calling and talking, it changes the nature of the process when you formally file your dispute.
But I did that 6 months ago.
And until it's resolved, everything is held in abeyance. Yes, ma'am.
I'm one of the people who hasn't received a bill in well over a year now. We're probably coming up on a year and a half since I was billed for water. And I understand that the bills that are being released are going to be for your current usage. How do you propose to accurately determine the amount of water that I used a year and a half ago?
Well, I've said on multiple occasions, my number one priority as CEO is to get all 184,000 customers back on a normal billing cycle. In October 2016, before we came, the county decided to withhold 37,000 bills, and I suspect yours was one of them, because the billing information could not be accurately verified. We have now worked through all but about 9,500 of those 37,000 bills. 74% of them have been released since April. right? Independently verified. That's what Ms. Knight shared with you. I've made it, I've said it to the commissioners, and I've said it multiple times. The only priority I have right now is getting everyone back online and billing. And that's been my statement from day one, and I've not varied from it in any way whatsoever. Yes, sir.
I have a suggestion and a three-part question.
Yes, sir.
My suggestion to anyone who has a billing problem, pick your lowest bill that you've received in the past, pay that amount each month until you get a correction. That's what they told me to do last October. And so I paid through the end of the year, and then they quit billing me. But I got a bill 2 weeks ago representing 9 months, but it was only $232 because I had been paying every month. Now, my question is, how do you decide the order in which you're going to replace meters? Is it by geography, or is it by the age of the meters, or is it by a drawing?
Can you help me, Alicia?
Yeah, so for the meters, like the plan is to replace based on the age. So we have what we call the meter routes. So in each route, there's about 500 of the meters in each route. So we will replace them based on the age. So the older one will get replaced first because some of the older one can be up 25 to 30 years old, the manual type. So those will get replaced first. And then we will move to the next model, which is the ECR2, which is about 20 years old. So that will get replaced second, and then so on.
It probably is. 1965. So what Ms. Johnson said, the oldest first. And we're going to work our way forward from the oldest first. And you have one that's 50 years old.
30.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Annie Thomas. I moved to Ellenwood in November of 2015. My first water bill was $45. The next bill was $150. There's only 2 people in the house. I went to the water company. They told me that I would have to pay it. I'm a disabled senior on a fixed income. I went to the general assistant. They paid that bill. Okay, the next bill was like $50. I paid it. I paid 2 more bills. The next bill was $160. I called again, and they told me to file a grievance, and so what I did was I did what they suggested I do. Then they, it was a long time. They told me I paid that bill in partial payments. The last payment was in December of 2016, which was $41.40. So I didn't get a bill this year. I kept calling, where's my water bill? Oh, you don't have to worry about no bill. You have filed a grievance, and you don't have to worry about no bill. We're going to give you a case manager. Her name is Gwendolyn. She called me, and she told me that my bill was like $700 or something. And I said, oh, no. And she told me that, I said, I lived in Stone Mountain. My bill was never over $30.
It's $700 for a month or for the year?
I don't know what she was talking about because I got so upset. I couldn't even talk to her. I told her I had to get off the phone. So she called me again, and she told me that they were going to send somebody out to read my meter. I was standing at the door. I live on the corner. The man went to the corner. He turned around and came back and hung just those little tags on my mailbox. Nothing on it. So I called again, and she told me that they have nobody in DeKalb County has ever had a bill under $30. And she also disputed my moving in in December of 2015. She said, you've been there at that address all the time. This bill has had, okay, I've been so upset I had to go to the emergency room for my blood pressure. And they kept me there for 12 hours. Okay, they sent somebody out to read the meter. They said nothing was wrong with the meter. But a few days later, somebody came out and she said that they installed a new meter. I didn't see it. I don't know who installed it. I didn't see it. But in August, they sent me a bill. First, she said my bill was $1,600. And my daughter had to take the phone because I couldn't talk to her. I shouldn't be under this kind of stress in order to have water in my house. And I know God is not pleased with this, and I'm not ashamed to say it. Now, she said my case had been completed, and that she sent me a bill for $453. I don't owe that bill, and I'm not going to pay it. I refuse to pay it. Y'all just have to cut my water off, because this is not right. And I'm God's child, and I'm here to tell you. Thank you.
Just for clarification, the $400 was for what period?
I don't know. Here's the
12
bill.
months.
I can't, $453. And why you hold my bill and tell me not to worry about it and then send me a bill for $453? I could have been paying, they could have been sending me a bill all along.
A year.
A year. If you look at my record, Annie Thomas bill.
Yeah, let us look at it. And plus also, if that occurs, we also set a payment plan. And I can't do the math, but if it was for a year.
It was due August 22nd.
Well, I got them looking at it. Y'all looking at it? Let them look at it. Y'all got it? Okay. Anyone else on? Yes, sir. I'll come to you next, ma'am. Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you for being here. I do believe that you're going to make it better. I'm going to believe that. I have a kind of special circumstance in that I'm representing the board of directors for a townhouse community. And, pardon? I'm sorry. We have been disputing bills for, I've been on the board for 7 years. We've been disputing for 7 years. This is a few of our latest ones. And so I'm glad to see that the software stuff is happening, and I'm glad to see that the meters are being replaced, because up until last year, that was undoubtedly part of the problem. But it also is an infrastructure issue with the pipes and everything. And this particular community was built in 1973 in South DeKalb. And at the time, it was supposed to be a townhouse community built as a condo for
the reasons that builders do that. And they never dedicated the streets to the county. Now, we have county streets, road signs and everything, but inside the community, we're told that the infrastructure is our responsibility. So what I'm trying to do is initiate a special tax district thing, which is what I've been told that we need to do, but I have yet to find somebody that I could actually talk to that could help me get that done. And we don't want to have the water turned off because we know that that's a health issue. But with bills like that have been coming through, we've spent $40,000, $50,000 a year doing pipes inside the condominium, but it's 127 units, and we just don't get enough money in to be able to do it. So the infrastructure issue is the problem there because there are ground leaks, and we know sewer is the biggest part of the water bill, and most of that water is not even going into a sewer, it's going into the ground, and we really need some help to get something done with that.
I'll get Mr. Williams to talk to you about that in more detail. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You mind talking to me? Raise your hand, Zach. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thurmond.
I promise this lady, then I'll come back to you. You're next, all right? I promise this lady to my right.
Yes, my experience is slightly different. However, my husband and I, the only two in the household, we did get an increase in our water bill, and of course, we took immediate action. We paid a visit to the local office, and of course, we did stay a length of time, approximately maybe 45 minutes. And we did meet with, I must say, a very courteous representative there. We explained our issue, and she took the request and she told us what to do. She advised us what she thought we should pay until the problem was resolved. And then thereafter, they did send someone out. Now, this was last November, so I'm approaching a year now. Okay. They did send someone out about 2 months, or maybe 3 months ago, and they changed the meter out. And we have been in that resident for approximately 30 years, so the meter was there when we moved in. We are the original owners, okay? So, having said that, once they changed the meter out, then they did adjust the bill for us. And then at some point, we got a low bill. And when I said low, it wasn't as much as it was. Like, we got a bill like for $200 or $300. And the adjustment was made. So yes, patient is part of it, but everything that we was informed that would take place, it has taken place. However, I'm gonna stop there. We don't know what this month is going to bring. Now, so I am the exception to most of you are tonight. I have gotten excellent results from the county when I paid a visit and got my issues resolved. Now, I may be back next time if you have another meeting with a different attitude about this whole. But I did file a complaint. It was registered. They did come out. They did adjust the bill. And at this point, everything is okay. So I just want to share some of the good side. I mean, we heard a lot of the negative. And that's okay because we're going to have the good and we're going to have the bad. So hopefully you all experience will come to be as good as mine until after this month, right?
Yes, ma'am. And you know, I wasn't here, but I've been told that this meeting would draw 500 and 600 people. So that means until we get them all right, we're not going to stop working. But obviously, we are progressing from the low point where we were in the summer and the fall of 2016. That's just a fact. It may not be a fact that you want to embrace, but it's just the truth. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask, maybe it's been said, but the meter change outs, how do you know if your meter has been changed out? And I wanted to know also about the field validation form.
In addition, if you didn't want to call us directly to find out if your meter's been changed out, our bills have your meter number on there. So if they've told you your meter has been changed out and you want to validate it for yourself, you can look at the bottom portion of your bill where the actual graph is, and it'll have a different meter number on there. So your customer number will be the same, but after the meter is changed out in the system, you'll have a new meter number on your bill, which is reflective of the meter change out. And you had I don't know which question you had about field validation.
Yeah, what is the specific question about the field validation form? I'm sorry.
What is the field validation form? Is that when they come out and read your meter and the form that they fill out?
So a regular meter read doesn't necessarily need that. This is where the folks are sent out because there is an issue with the meter. They've been apprised of an issue. And so now they have a tool that they can go out with, collect whatever pieces of data that the watershed and UCO team needs in order to go through the validation of that. And then that's automated through that form. So not every meter reader, that's only if there is a particular issue and they have to go and validate that meter.
Okay, why did the bills change from bi-monthly bills to monthly bills? Because I was bi-monthly, now monthly.
That is a part of the meter replacement schedule. So when your meter is on the new technology where it's actually for a radio read, we move you to monthly billing at that particular time. So that's the 20% Engineer Johnson spoke of earlier that is on that radio technology. Those people are on monthly bills, and the goal is when all meters are replaced, the entire county will be on monthly bills instead of bi-monthly bills.
Mr. Thurmond, I want to say thank you for having our streets paved. I've been in my home for 39 years. It's the first time. Thank you.
Say that again. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I missed that. But no, thank you. It's really, I wish it was just me, but it's not. The county commissioners, the tax. And by the way, the commissioners adopted a SPLOST proposal last week, and we're proposing to pave close to 400 miles of streets and roads in DeKalb County that are pot-filled and purely in need of repair. So that's upcoming. That's another infrastructure issue that's been neglected that we're, I believe, on the cusp of addressing. What we're doing now, but what we're getting ready to do in January is going to be phenomenal. It just is. Yes, sir.
My question is about the bi-monthly to monthly billing that she brought up before. Our meter is over 38 years old. It was last changed out in 1979. We've been to the Jordan Lane office multiple times this year, my mom and I. She doesn't drive, so I have to take her and take off work for that. But we got switched over to monthly billing, and we have not had any updates to our meter. And the point she was trying to make earlier about the estimated billing is that it's an ongoing estimated billing. And when we went to the office, they were saying that they were estimating our bills based on what we used the year before at the same time, but that was an estimated bill as well. And when they just decide how much water we've used and don't use, and just like other people I've noticed here, there's just the two of us in the house, and I shower at the gym most of the time. She takes maybe one shower a week. She's older. She's a senior citizen. She doesn't cook. We don't know what's going on. We've had people come out. We've had plumbers look at our plumbing. We have no leaks. And we're confused as to why suddenly, you know, where we were paying somewhere around the lines of like $50 to $60 every 2 months to $90 to $150 every month.
First of all, let me apologize that we haven't been able to get to the root cause of what happened after the meter change out. I'm sure the team has gotten your information and will follow up to see if there's some other technology issue or if you got a meter that we do need to change out again, because if you're on monthly billing after your older meter was changed out, the reading should be coming in electronically. So if they have not been able to provide you with that, then sounds like there could be another meter issue or software issue, and we'll be sure to follow up on that accordingly.
When we went to Jordan Lane last week, they told us that it's the same meter that we've had since 1979.
Right. And
we've had that meter longer than my older brother's been alive, and he was born in 1979.
Right, and that sounds like, that's why I'm saying this sounds like there is a root cause issue on your account about either the meter or the system being updated, because it would not show that meter if you've already switched over to monthly billing. So that's why I'm telling you, I apologize that you have not been assisted in the way that you should have been to get to the root cause of that issue. I apologize for that.
But we will follow up. Thank you for coming. This lady, yes, ma'am. This lady here.
My question is, you're going to monthly instead of bi-monthly. My question is, if you're going monthly and you have not got it together bi-monthly, you're going to have more issues. It looked like to me you should, before you go to monthly, all these problems need to be corrected. Otherwise, now everybody's bill's going to double because it's not corrected now.
That's the reason that we don't switch over. There is an option where you can take existing meters and make them monthly. The county has decided to be strategic, and we don't switch people over to monthly billing until we've switched everybody over into the route, we've tested the technology, and then we make the switch. That's why only 20% of the county is at that particular rate, because we don't want to happen what you just described. We're being very strategic and thoughtful, working with Watershed when it comes to that replacement. So that we let the infrastructure drive us first before we make that billing transaction. We do not make those switches without the technology being tested and in place.
But you
Okay,
asked the
according to what this man just said, that he's still getting billed the same.
She asked a broader question. Let me answer your broader question. Think about it, 184,000 accounts. We didn't have a problem with 184,000 accounts. We had a problem with 37,000 of the 184,000. So if you track 37 from 184, 160 plus thousand, we've not had any problems with. I mean, it's just math, right? The 37,000 that we determined that could not be independently verified, we have now independently verified 27,000 of the 37,000. That leaves 9,000 plus to be independent, and the rest are being billed.
What's the definition of independently verified? What do you mean by that?
It's a process that we developed with my input and their input.
My thoughts are we're all in the same billing system.
Right.
You know, and I have neighbors on my same street. They explained it to me back there, but my neighbors are getting bills and I'm not. But we're all on the same.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that it's, go ahead and explain.
Right. When those bills were held, it was because we could not validate that those readings at those particular locations were accurate and producing accurate bills. So it could be and this goes back to a root cause question that happened earlier. It could have been because the account wasn't set up properly. In estimation, that reading came in manually. So we did not make any assumptions to say just because this neighbor's was correct, this other neighbor's may have been correct. Instead, we looked at each account specifically, and we test that before we actually send it out. So if we have not sent you your bill at this point, it's because we have not been able to verify that the reading we're getting is actually reflective of your consumption. So if there is any additional concerns, we want to address those, because our commitment to our constituents at this point is that the bills we release now are for actual readings. So the 27,000 we released, none of those bills were estimated. Those were all verified as actual readings.
I just received a bill after not receiving a bill for a year. My greater concern, which is, I'm glad to see the water bill actually, but my greater concern is the young lady in the blue, but I know that's not what we're addressing tonight. My greater concern is the year lapse. I mean, I received a bill for August and for September, but, you know, such as everyone else in here, I'm a single household income. I don't want to receive a 1 year, you know, time frame water bill for $1,200, $1,600. Then go on a payment plan for that because I'm on a payment plan for other things. So, but, you know, I know we're not addressing that tonight, but that is of a greater concern to me. So do you think like later on at some point, how you were sending out the letters to all the residents that we will receive, when you're ready to address that piece, that you will send us some sort of a communication?
Yes, ma'am.
About that?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am, to your question. And one of the commitments I made to the commissioners that prior to any decision, this matter will be brought forward to the commission and discussed in public. It will not be an independent decision by me. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mr. CEO.
Yes, sir.
I have attended each and every one of the meetings, and I'm convinced that we're having the same song with a different beat. Three things. It's always the meter. It's always the quantity of water metered or not metered. And then the third thing is the dollar figure on the bill, which seems to be a math problem. My question to you, Mr. CEO, is how does your rates in this county for water charges compare with rates in adjacent counties? Not necessarily all 159, but let's say 3 other counties. How does your rates compare? I know you have a 4-tier system, right? It starts with $2, then it goes as high as $8. How does your rates compare with other counties?
You know, I've actually looked at a study, but I think ours is a little, is it better? It's lower. It's lower than contiguous counties. Now, part of your water bill is also your sewer line. It's not just water. Yeah, it's water and sewer fees included in that, and a decision was made several years ago to increase the rate because there was an investment in trying to upgrade the sewer system. So, but relatively speaking, ours is competitive. Let me just say rather than lower, it's very competitive with surrounding areas to your question. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. Thurmond.
Hi.
A two-part question. First, since we know that we're years out from a complete fix, where you can legitimately say billing is right and tight, everything is 100% fixed, could we get a promise from you to continue this disconnect moratorium? Because to me, the biggest fear is that people are going to have their water turned off. And I think that would take off a good bit of stress for residents if they know there's no way their water is getting turned off until the billing is fixed.
Well, I think to your question, the dispute process, which I committed to and extended through executive order in January, stands. Now, and I can only speak while I'm CEO. I can't go beyond 20, whatever the 4 years is from now. But
That should be enough time.
yeah, but we're making progress. To someone's point, this lady to my right, and you can't see it because it may or may not be invisible to you, but I have seen it, right, in terms of where we were, where we are, but more importantly, a clear and coherent plan to get to where we need to be. It's a journey. It's traveling to California. First, you got to get to Alabama if you're looking at states, and then Louisiana, and ultimately Texas. That's what we are doing. Well, and the people, and ultimately, I'm responsible. So one of the things I want everyone to understand is that the one person you hold accountable is me. And it's up to me to hire the people I feel comfortable with, that I feel can get the job done. Well, if I don't do it, then I get punished at the ballot box in 3 years. That's how that works.
One of the things that I want to hold you accountable for is the Citizen Advisory Board that Gay mentioned. That to me I'm a member, Gay's a member, but it's supposed to be representative of all the citizens of DeKalb County that have been impacted most by this, which is the taxpayers. I think you would agree to that. So I was curious why you didn't find the value in appointing a member for that.
Well, I think, according to my chief of staff, we've appointed a member, but to be quite honest with you, my focus has been on trying to address these issues, because unlike commissioners and other folk and everyone else, I'm the guy that's accountable. You know, I don't get the pleasure of just being able to talk about it. I'm the guy that's going to be responsible for, as you say, fixing it. And that puts me in a little different position than other people might be similarly situated. Yes, sir.
I'm here again because more or less my issue's been settled, but my neighbors in Bremenwood in the great city of Stonecrest are not getting their bills, and some are passing almost getting close to 2 years. They call and no action. In fact, they got to the point that I delivered today a letter to my House Representative Pam Stevenson, their frustration with DeKalb County. And tell you a fact, to quote her, she has an issue with her water bill and the county won't return her calls. So how do you expect if a House representative calls with a problem us little peasants are not getting anything done. I mean, again, my neighborhood's lower middle class. We're not big HOH in Stonecrest. So they can't afford $500, $700 bills when they get. And then when they try to call, nobody returns their call. Maybe if the water department would go down to the tax commissioner's office, they will show them how to do a billing, because the tax commissioners can get those bills out really fast and on time, whereas the water department can't even get a bill out.
Well, Representative Stevens is a great friend of mine. We were together this past, not this Saturday, but the previous Saturday. She didn't mention anything to me about an issue. I'm just saying, she is a very dear friend of mine, of long standing. I was with her this past Saturday at an event which she attended to support me, and so I don't want to get into what she said or didn't say. I can only speak to what she may have said to me. The bills that are being held, they are 9,500 held bills not yet mailed. Let me get Jerry, then I'll come back. He's been patient. And Mr. McCorkle, but I'm going to come to this later, then I'll come back. Is that fair?
Sorry. We have had several of these meetings, and the general tenor is that dispute bills. Now, we do have residents who cannot dispute bills. And does the county feel fit to establish some procedure to help these people to flag their account, have their doctor put in a file, say this person is disabled, a senior, cannot handle it, so that people like we've heard today, again, where the children now, thank goodness, are here, take care of things, that we do not sweep such things under the rug. What is the county's position on that? Are you thinking of a procedure, don't think of a procedure, think these people are not worth it? I mean, what do you mean to say?
Working with family members and agencies, I think it's something we can do. These people in the back, they're just not trained or equipped to go and visit homes of senior citizens to determine.
Flag the bill, flag the account. Put a notice in the account. This is an account. Thank you. This is an account that we need to address separately, that cannot come out and dispute. And if this account has a $2,000 bill, we have to do something from our side, from the county side.
I understand.
Okay. Do you plan on doing something like that? I mean, we've asked several times.
I know. I just hadn't figured out what to do on that.
Okay. Well, can the commissioners and you maybe work on that?
Yes.
Okay.
By the same token, if your water is still on and we're still utilizing the water and we know that we get a bill or that there is a bill, we can send in what we feel our average bill should be on a monthly basis. That way, when they do correct it, you're not hit with a huge bill. It's our responsibility too. If we know we're using the water, we know we're going to get some bill, pay something. That way, when the bill comes out, it's not as large.
Mr. Thurmond,
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that there was only 37,000 meters that were not reading correctly.
No, there were 37,000 bills held.
Exactly. Now, that is an average of nearly 20%. The national average is below 2%. So that is not something that I would brag about. Also, I believe that the manual meters have a higher propensity to read under because they're mechanical. So a lot of the overage may not be through those. Now, I also understand that the iPearl meters that we have bought, the good ones, are fully guaranteed for 10 years and are half guaranteed for 20 years. So and I don't know what meters you're going to end up buying in October, but I would assume that they would be along the same lines. So rather than replacing them, 7% each year, you could probably get away with 5%. Okay, and maybe save the taxpayers a little bit of money. Also, I hope that that 72 score Vermont system solution company works out.
Just as a point of clarification, the 37,000 were bills that were determined in the fall, October, November of 2017 that were not accurate. 16. I wasn't bragging on it, I was just stating the fact.
What are you going to do with the old bills?
That's what several people have asked me.
You had no answer for it. Are you not going to take responsibility for those incorrect bills before you started?
I just don't have an answer at this point.
I have a solution to the problem of I wasn't here 2 years ago. I've lived in the same house for 20 years. I've had problems with my water and sewer bills for several years preceding you. By the way, I voted for you.
Thank you.
We need a professional manager for this county like Cobb and Gwinnett and Fulton have, somebody who's in place for years on end unless they're dismissed for cause. Every time someone gets elected or re-elected, here we go again. We have no continuity, nobody at the top, therefore accountability is less than best practices. And until everybody wakes up and realizes that DeKalb is the only county out of Gwinnett, Cobb, Fulton, and DeKalb that has this weirdo system of governance, we're doomed. And this, to me, is the perfect example of why it doesn't work. And I might vote for you again, and I might not.
That's all, listen, that's all you can ask. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm looking at the timeline the gentleman put up. Seems like we're not going to have software in place until 2019. It's 15 to 18 months, and so does that not put us into 2019? And the second part of that is, what kind of extensive testing are you going to do to make sure it works properly?
So to answer your first question, the project will take anywhere between 12 to 18 months, and we're guessing it'll be closer to the 15 to 18. Because we don't have a contract in place, you're correct, it may move us into 2019. I'd still like to see us have the system up and running by the end of 2018, but as I've said before, we're going to do it smartly and aggressively. We're not just going to, pick a date and make sure that we hit it.
All right, but we're already in the 2017. Next year is 2018, so that's a year from now, right?
Correct. When we started this program, and when Mr. CEO came on board and we started, and we were looking at doing it, again, we were looking at hoping to have this where we would be under contract by July, which then the 18 months would have put us at the end of next year. But due to the fact that the procurement and those kinds of things took time, longer than anyone would have liked, that has pushed it back a few months. So yes, you're quite right. If we're doing the math, we are probably looking at a first quarter of 2019.
Also extensive testing. Since this is software and hardware, are there any test plans going to be put in place in order to test the hardware and software against various conditions?
Absolutely. There will be test plans. We've already identified as part of our program when we put out the RFP mandating the normal testing with any system-related testing, as well as we're going to be testing any of the interfaces that are created, regardless of whether it's to an internal system or to the AMI, to the metering system. So there will be testing across the board. And I know someone mentioned the 72% grade. Understand that we had over 900 requirements for this particular system. We went out, we did the research, and the folks, regardless of what department they were from, what agency they were from, we told them we needed to grade these things very tough. We wanted to have as best of the system as we could possibly have. But out of those 900 plus criteria, most of them only had anywhere between 70 to 80% of that. So that automatically just diminished the score. So I wouldn't look at a 72% as a bad thing in this case. Quite frankly, we graded these things on a curve, and we took the graded based and got the best system that we could. And everyone and anyone had the ability to respond, and we received 10 respondents, of which I believe 8 of them were deemed to be responsive and responsible by purchasing and contracting, and we did select the best vendor that we could.
Let me add, he won't mention it, something we're very proud of. The DeKalb's IT department, led by Mr. Matowski, was recently awarded or selected as being one of the 10 best in America. He deserves a hand for this. So to your point, we have one of the most innovative, one of the most, I think, brilliant IT leaders anywhere in this country. And I have total confidence and faith in him and his team that we're going to get this right, and it's going to be something that's going to serve this county for decades to come. I just have no doubt, and he is recognized not just by Michael Thurmond, but by IT leaders and others all over this country.
This program tonight's being broadcast on TV 23, DCTV, and also on Facebook. So we have a couple of questions from our viewing audience. Will I, at some point in the future, receive a bill for all of the water I've ever used? How can I determine how much money I should be putting aside for such a large future expense? How will we ever know if DeKalb County billed me the correct amount?
That issue will be what I've said, and I'll repeat it. My first goal was to get all customers back into normal billing of the 37,000 that have been held. A separate decision will be made as to if or when we will seek to recoup any fees for services for water already used. That decision has not been made. It will be a decision that I have committed to bringing before the commissioners before it's been made. And so you can reach out to your commissioners. You'll be able to hear a public discussion of it. You will not just get a bill one day in the mail for X amount. That's not how the process is going to work. It was one lady that I really want to hear from, and I apologize to her. She said that I hurt her feelings, but I would
tell everybody.
Yeah, but I want to make a public apology, so I would love to have your question.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say I can identify with the woman over there, except I've been in my house for 25 years. And I don't use a lot, and I've been really surprised. But what was the most disturbing was that I had gone in person 2 or 3 times to talk to customer service people. And I have called on the telephone. I've had people doing things in other yards which knock down my landscaping, but they don't fix mine. And so I'd done all these things. I called the hotline as soon as it was established. And when I came in tonight, I wasn't on the list of people with a disputed bill. I do have a set amount to pay. I will say that there is an Angela Baskerville back there who let me sound off on all of my problems
Angela, raise your hand.
which is why I'm not beating up on you now. Is Angela listened to everything I said, and I'm counting on you, Angela. She was very kind.
Thank you, ma'am.
But just reporting it once or twice doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's going to competently get you on the list. And Mr. Thurmond, might I say, I also have great confidence that you'll make things better. But you've been an established public figure for a long time, and people aren't going to treat you, or you're not going to see the side of things that sometimes we see, which is why it's valuable when you will tolerate us sounding off in these public meetings.
Thank you, man.
Thank
You're very kind. Thank you so much. But one thing I'll say about the people in the back, and we talked about it, but we kind of fluffed over it, customer service. We are going to do a better job of interacting and communicating with our customers. They know it. I made it clear. We all know it. We're going to continue to focus on it. It's something that I embrace, always have. These are taxpayers. You pay my salary. We exist for you, and we're going to have an attitude that embraces that, because we're all volunteers. We don't have to work for DeKalb. We choose to work for DeKalb, and there are going to be expectations associated with it. And that's why we're here tonight. And whatever mistakes, and there have been multiple generations of mistakes. I apologize for them, but all I can really do to show you my commitment is to change it. Is to just change it. So thank y'all so much. I promise y'all that I didn't really care about Monday Night Football, but I wasn't quite telling it. So I am actually going to go, I'm going to go catch it because I'm watching. Thank y'all so much for coming.